can we can also share. Share na ba? All right. So, good afternoon again. At today's session, we're going to touch and discuss data privacy, one of the hottest topics and issues, no? Especially to organizations and even individuals who are dealing with personally identifiable information or personal information, no? And within our group, wala kaming expert, no, sa aming group. So we decided to invite no less than someone who is both a practitioner, a professor, no, and certified to the highest level to do this discuss data privacy. And in fact, nagagaling lang niya sa isang session na naman niya with Mimaropa, no? And if you are a friend of this personality on Facebook or LinkedIn, you will see how busy. And that is a good thing, because that indicates a wider acceptance, no, for everyone in our country. So let me introduce. So our guest for this afternoon is the President and CEO of Data Privacy Management and Consultancy Inc. So focus talaga ito, no? With more than 10 years or 17 years of competence in the field of cyber or security and privacy, cybersecurity, information and communications technology, information technology service management, information security management, data privacy, e-commerce, and more than 25 years of experience in human capital development in the academe, no? IT, private, and government sectors. Has spoken to over 200,000 audiences. Imagine, no? From his 300 plus data privacy talks. So sinabi ko lang kanina, sobrang busy. And speaking engagements in the Philippines, in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Japan. Not to mention his exposure in social media, radio, and TV exposure. So makikita nyo, we are very lucky to have this person, no? Yeah. Very busy and sought after. Former Chief Compliance and Monitoring Division at the National Privacy Commission, and a recipient of the first Privacy Advocacy Award for 2021 by the National Privacy Commission. So he is a fellow advocate. We are focused on cybersecurity, and our guest for today is focused on data privacy, but is also a credible resource speaker or resource person on cybersecurity. So, without delay, may we welcome Dr. Rolando or Rolly R. Lansigan. He is a certified ethical hacker, computer hacking forensic investigator, and what's the Cyber SA Plus. Doc Lansigan, Doc Rolly, are you on mute?
No, I'm not in mute. Medyo overwhelmed na ako sa introduction mo, Mr. Chair. Actually, itong si Mr. Chair, no? Since late last year, ang tawag na namin sa kanya, Mr. Chair. Pero alam niyo ba that the first time I met Angel Redoble, alam mo, eto hindi mo to alam, no? I'll announce it publicly. Nung starstruck ako, no, sa PNP, Philippine National Police. Kasi ever since nababasa ko na yung pangalan ng Angel, tapos when I posted yung ating stint sa Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group, Advisory Council, sabi ng mga kakilala ko, uy, Sir Rolly, Dr. Lansigan, din pa ako nun sa National University, sabi nila, kasama mo si Sir Angel Redoble? Oo. Sabi niya, bakit? Sabi ko, nababasa ko lang pero I don't know how big the name, no, that time or even up to now, no, yung Angel Redoble. And even up to now, pataas ng pataas pa rin yung level. Kaya I'm very honored, no, knowing you, Mr. Chair, and now our Mr. Chair, no, for the netizens party list. Maraming salamat for this invitation, and I'm very honored talaga, no. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for inviting me. Nakikita ko lang to sa Facebook, and now I'm part of this Kwentuhang Cybersecurity. In fact, last night I called May, no? Tapos sabi ko, May, ano ba yung format dito? Nakikita ko siya nakapost, pero I don't have the time to really watch the full podcast nito. But now I'm here, and thank you very much. Pasensya na rin sa bihis ko, nasa bahay lang ako, as mentioned by our Mr. Chair. Kagagaling ko lang sa one whole day full training for data protection officers sa Mimaropa region from the Commission on Higher Education. Okay. So thank you very much again. Please allow me to share my screen po. Okay.
All right.
So actually it's a bit challenge, no? Giving me 5 to 10 minutes of talk. Tapos when I check the title of this talk, sabi nyo, data privacy for everybody. Parang it's a big challenge for everybody. Kasi when we talk about data privacy, pwedeng our focus will be on the data subjects for the individuals. Pwedeng the focus will be on cybersecurity. Pwedeng ang focus will be on organizations, compliance, since that is my forte when I was still with the National Privacy Commission. So data privacy, the topic is data privacy for everybody. So I was given 10 minutes, siguro around 10 minutes, sana matapos itong kwentuhan natin on data privacy. So pasensya na rin sa introduction, medyo talagang madami. When I was still with the National Privacy Commission, we were exposed to a lot of seminars, talks, even abroad, no, on data privacy. Kaya ganun karami yung audience na na-reach natin. In fact, I remember one speaking stint at the SMX MOA, 2,000 yung audience doon, no? So masyado siya talagang madami in terms of exposure, and I'm very thankful with the National Privacy Commission for giving me much exposure on data privacy and compliance. Okay? So I'll begin my discussion. Thank you. Wala pa rin si Mr. President, si Sir President, si Ashley Asidilio, no? Sayang wala pa siya. And thank you for inviting me.
Siguro in a while, papasok na rin yun. Sige, go ahead, Doc.
Okay, thank you very much. Data privacy for everybody. Okay. So due to lack of first slide, ginawa ko na lang yung nakapost sa internet, ano, okay? So reasons why we need to protect data for organizations like your organization, and for those who are watching right now, we need to protect data primarily because of three things, okay? First is it builds trust. We are all providing our clients the best service, and in order to do so, we need to collect their personal data and know about them. Parang wala naman nag-exist na business without collecting any personal information, di ba? So it builds trust, but if you fail to keep their data safe and private, Our client could suffer loss, identity theft, and other forms of damage, even bodily harm. And if this happens, we could lose their trust and patronage. This loss of trust is something we want to prevent, no? Actually, nangyari nito sa ibang kumpanya when the data privacy trust, no, was lost. Definitely bumaba yung kanilang sales, bumaba yung income, and some of them even closed their company because the personal data is not being protected within the company. Second, it prevents and mitigates the risk. Keeping corporate information, including personal data, confidential, accurate, and available prevents or mitigates costly incidents, damage to your reputation, penalties from the government, and other harms to individuals. And lastly, protecting the personal data, it is now required by law. So there are new laws and regulations which require organizations to ensure the privacy of personal information. Thus, everyone must have knowledge on how to accomplish this. So with this, we have RA 10173, otherwise known as the Data Privacy Act of 2012, which protects the fundamental human rights of privacy of all the Filipino citizens. So whether RA 10173 or the Data Privacy Act of 2012, the summary of this law is to protect the fundamental human rights of every Filipino citizens, processing their personal information here and abroad, and thus the creation also of the National Privacy Commission. Just a brief background about NPC. NPC started its mandate last 2016. It is a body that is mandated to administer and implement the Data Privacy Act of 2012. And the functions of the National Privacy Commission includes rulemaking, advisory, public education, compliance and monitoring, the division which I used to head, investigations and complaints, and even enforcement. Contrary to what others believe, no, akala ng iba na nagpo-prosecute lang NPC, etc., under the law, the National Privacy Commission can also issue cease and desist order. Pwede pong ipasara yung ating mga organizations if we violate under certain rules, under certain criteria. The National Privacy Commission can issue cease and desist order for the closure of the processing of the personal information within an organization. Kung nakita po nagba-violate tayo at hindi protektado yung data na hinahawakan natin. That is why si NPCs there, meron silang golden rule. The golden rule of NPCs, do not collect if you cannot protect. Because a lot of organizations are collecting personal information. Lahat naman ng organizations collects personal information. But the next question is, are they protecting the data under the Data Privacy Act? So with this, nagbago na yung pananaw o yung perspective ng mga tao or perspective even the organizations when it comes to the Data Privacy Act. So nauso dito yung word na BOTPA, nanggaling to kay Chairman Livoro actually, yung BOTPA. BOTPA stands for because of the Privacy Act. Because of the Privacy Act, everything has changed. Ano yung mga nagbago in terms of how we process personal information, the way we process the personal information from acquisition. Dati, we can just collect anything. We can just collect any information. Ngayon, magbago na siya. It should follow the principles of transparency, legitimate purpose, and proportionality. We cannot just collect any personal information just like that. Pwede bang kolektahin to? Ngayon, hindi na po pwede. Because of the Privacy Act, the way we use and even store data, hindi na po pwede that we can just store anywhere the data. Or even how we share, disclose, or transfer personal data. Hindi na ganun kadali. Dati, if somebody requests for a data, for any personal information, pwede nating ibigay. Ngayon, hindi na pwede. Meron tayong mga tinatawag na consent, may tinatawag na tayong legitimate purpose, meron na tayong tinatawag na legal mandate, no? On how we share this personal information, including the last part of the data processing life cycle, which includes the retention and destruction of data. Yung iba akala, they can just retain personal information for life. Now, with the data processing life cycle, information must be destroyed after its use. Although meron siya mga certain limitations under the law, yung mga tinatawag na perpetuity of the personal information, pwede rin naman unless otherwise stated by the law. Kaya every time that I discuss data privacy, I always emphasize this photo. So this picture depicts a picture of 3 people, no, behind bars. Tapos may peso sign. Because violation of the law constitute a criminal liability. When we say criminal liability, pwede po tayong makulong and magbayad ng fines, no? Or yung danyos perwisyo in Tagalog. Yung condition po under the criminal liability is an and, no? So hindi po siya kulong or fines, kundi kulong and fine in pesos. And this table shows the amount of the criminal liability that can be given, no, to any violators of the Data Privacy Act. So this table shows the punishable acts if ang na-compromise ay personal information, that the third column, the fourth column for the sensitive personal information, and the amount of fines for the last column, no? So for example lang, improper disposal, nagtapon ka ng piece of paper that contains personal information and it was used for an authorized purpose, theft or identity theft, no? Kung sensitive personal information siya, that is 3 to 6 years and 100,000 to 1 million. Or say for example, there is a data breach in your organization and you concealed it and did not report it to the National Privacy Commission and the affected data subjects, that is concealment of breach. That's 18 months to 5 years and 500,000 pesos to 1 million. So all of this, no, are embedded under the Data Privacy Act, all of these punishable acts na if we violate the law, there is a corresponding criminal liability. Now, the scope of the law, the Data Privacy Act, covers only the personal information, and it applies to the processing of all types of personal information to any natural or juridical person in the country and even abroad, subject to certain qualifications. Kasi a lot of people are asking, covered ba to ng batas? Covered ba to ng batas? No? So, simple lang yung sagot doon. If it identifies, no, a person or any individual, his or her personal information that is covered under the Data Privacy Act. Okay? Now, yung batas natin, when this was passed into law and the formation of the National Privacy Commission last 2016, the National Privacy Commission has developed a system, no, wherein the people or the organizations out there can understand fully ano ba yung Data Privacy Act, ano ba yung pinag-uusapan natin dito. Like for example, the Data Privacy Act has key DPA actors, no? Very good example is the data subject. In summary, pag sinabi natin data subjects, these are individuals, no, from whom we collect. Your organization collects or individual collects personal information from any individuals. So in other words, lahat ng tao, buhay man o patay, are called data subjects. And another DPA actor under the DPA is the National Privacy Commission, the implementer of the act or the regulator of the law on the Data Privacy Act. Okay, and the organizations, whether they are classified as PIC or PIP. Now, by definition, when we say PIC, it has custody and controls the processing of personal data of the data subjects and contracts with the data subjects. Yung iba kasi, medyo nalilito sila, no? Pag sinabing PIC, PIP, ano ba talaga? Ano ba yung company ko? PIC ba ako or PIP? If you are the original collector or kung ikaw yung naka-front, no, do sa data subjects, when their personal information is being collected, okay, you are called the PIC. But when the PIC outsource some of, if the PIC outsource its data processing system to a third party, that third party is what we call a PIP. It is to whom personal information controllers outsource the processing of personal data of its data subjects and has no direct contract with the data subjects. No? Okay, for example, we're ordering through Jollibee 87,000. Jollibee is the PIC there, no? But the call center company that process per our personal information through the ordering system is what we call the PIP, because Jollibee outsources ordering function to a third party, which is a call center company. Now, if this relationship exists between a PIC and a PIP, there has to be an agreement, no? Okay, all organizations, when they contracted third parties, they have contract. They have service level agreement, they have MOA, may MOU, whatever contract obligations that are in place, no, when they contracted a third party. But under the Data Privacy Act, we have this so-called outsourcing agreement if the relationship that exists is between PIC and PIP. But if the relationship exists is between PIC and PIC, meaning there is a joint controllership, no, of the personal information, pareho kayong PIC, kailangan ninyo ng tinatawag na data sharing agreement. Okay? Yung iba, pag nagtuturo ako dito, akala nila we're only talking about data sharing agreement or DSA. Hindi nila alam that there is another agreement kung PIC to PIP. Okay? Now, whatever agreement is in place, no, considering that you are transferring data or sharing data to a third party, two vital documents are needed. We have the consent and the privacy notice. Of course, privacy notice, we can see this in the website. We can see this in the facade, no, or the entrances of companies. But yung consent is something that a data subject, no, should freely give, no, should freely give to consent for the processing of the personal information. Okay. Now, this is new under NPC Circular 2020-03 that the data sharing agreement is now optional. Okay. When the National Privacy Commission published its IRR last 2016, both outsourcing agreement and data sharing agreements are required. Now, with the release of NPC Circular 2020-03, data sharing agreement becomes now optional. Okay. Now, under the Data Privacy Act, we have several rights of the data subject. Okay, right to be informed, right to object, right to access, right to data portability, right to correct, right to file a complaint, right to damages, right to erasure or blocking, and transmissibility of rights. So in other words, when the data subject wants to exercise these rights should be properly, given to the right data subject. Hindi po pwede kasing the right to be informed pero hindi mo alam kung paano pinoproseso yung data mo. And the right to be informed is manifested through a privacy notice. When we say right to object, it is manifested by the consent form. You have the right to object. You have the right to object on what data, what particular data on your part will be processed. Right to access and the rest of the rights, no, are self-explanatory. I think, but the last rights, no, this one is very unique in the Philippines, no, because we are the only country in the world as of now, or baka meron na mga na-release na mga batas sa ibang bansa about the transmissibility of rights, but as far as the GDPR is concerned, sa GDPR walang transmissibility of rights. When we say transmissibility of rights, it is the transfer of the ownership of the data once the data subject has died, no? Yung mga deceased data subject, sino magmamanage ng data nila? Yung tinatawag na mga next of kin or yung kamag-anak, etc., etc. And I think one of these rights, no, yung the right to erasure or blocking sa international privacy, minsan ang tawag nila dyan is the right to be forgotten. You have the right to delete, no, your personal information if the law allows, no? Hindi naman lahat ng batas pwede mong i-apply, no? You cannot ask for the deletion of your personal information and go to BIR or Philippine Statistics Authority. Oy, delete nyo nga yung birth certificate ko. Hindi, yun yung mga applicable nito. Applicability nito on certain cases wherein you have the right to delete your personal information. Like for example, may account ka sa bangko and you close this account in a bank, pwede mong i-exercise yung right to be deleted or right to be forgotten, assuming, no, na wala kang kaso, wala kang utang, wala kang receivables. Under normal circumstance, you can ask for the deletion of your personal information. And all of these rights, no, you can exercise this as a right of the data subject. Okay? Now, if a-flash ko lang itong classification of sensitive personal of this personally identifiable information, basta ang gusto lang ipasabi ng batas dito that personal data is classified into three, primarily because number one, when reporting a data breach, it's only sensitive personal information or other information, no? Yun yung classifying or threshold niya if you will be reporting a data breach, no, to the National Privacy Commission and the affected data subjects. Well, of course, yung batas natin, if we talk about data breach, hindi lang yung sensitive personal information, including all other information that may be used for identity theft. Okay? And also, another application of this personally identifiable information, yung pinakita ko kanina, yung punishable acts, kasi magkaiba yung treatment ng criminal liability when it comes to personal information versus the sensitive personal information. Mas mabigat yung paparusahan if you violate the sensitive personal information. Okay? Okay. Now, including all those government-issued information, IDs, information, tandaan ninyo, all people working in the government, lahat ng hawak po nila ay sensitive personal information. Because all personal information issued by government agencies, kahit wala po dyan, like the driver's license, pag-ibig number, SSS nandyan, basta all personal information derived from the processes of the government, they're considered to be sensitive personal information. Now, adherence to the data privacy principles in the Philippines, sinabi natin when we are processing personal data, it should adhere to the data privacy principles of transparency, legitimate purpose, and proportionality. When we say transparency, dapat may consent, may privacy notice. When we say legitimate purpose, it must not be contrary to law, morals, or public policy. When we say proportionality, ito yung the good thing about proportionality, you collect only what is necessary. Kasi a lot of organizations are collecting personal information. Sabihin nila, we're collecting this just in case we need it. Or we're collecting it kasi before 2012 pa, ginagawa na namin yan. Okay, so we should avoid this mentality, no? Just in case we need it, and this is what we always do. Now remember this, that we are violating the Data Privacy Act if you keep any data for longer than it is needed. So all data must be destroyed practically unless the law says that you can retain it. Now, in order for the organizations to comply, the National Privacy Commission has developed a system yung tinatawag na 5 pillars of compliance. Okay, historically, dati ang tawag namin yan is 5 utos ng NPC, kaya lang foreigners, yung mga foreign DPOs, foreigners na mga DPOs, hindi nila maintindihan yung ano yung utos. So, binago ng NPC yan and it was changed to the NPC's 5 pillars of compliance. And what are these 5 pillars of compliance? Actually, 5 lang yung tatandaan niyo na 3-letter word. The Data Protection Officer, Privacy Impact Assessment, Privacy Management Program, Personal Data Protection, Breach Reporting Procedure. And what are these? No? So yung praise na ginawa ni NPC is commit to comply, appoint a Data Protection Officer, know your risk, conduct your Privacy Impact Assessment, be accountable, create your Privacy Management Program and Manual, and 4th, demonstrate your compliance, implement your privacy and data protection measure. And lastly, be prepared for breach. Regularly exercise your breach reporting procedure. Okay. Now, in terms of the requirement of the law, ang question dyan, paano kami magko-comply? Do you have any list, any directives from NPC? All you have to do is to follow the NPC's Data Privacy Accountability and Compliance Framework. Okay? Ito yon. This is what we call also, after yung pinanggalingan nito, yung 5 pillars of compliance. Kasi if you will check governance, choose a DPO, that is pillar number 1. If you choose risk assessment under privacy impact assessment, this is under risk assessment, no? The conduct of the privacy impact assessment. So ang ginawa ni NPC is binreakdown lang sila into pieces. That's why kasama dito yung tinatawag na 32-point compliance checklist, no? So if you want to be guided, no, how your organization should be compliant, no, just follow these 32 items stated under this NPC's Data Privacy Accountability and Compliance Framework, and you will not go wrong, no, in terms of ano ba yung kulang natin, ano ba yung kailangan natin gawin. Kasi most of the companies, ang question nila, paano kami magpo-comply, hindi nga namin alam ano yung kailangan namin i-comply. Now, by following this list, definitely, you cannot go wrong, no, in terms of this 32-point compliance checklist. Now, aside from the 5 pillars of compliance, other requirements of the law is the submission of the annual the notification to NPC in case of a personal data breach, the annual breach report, which includes the annual security incident reports, ano yung mga nangyari security related, whether reportable breach or non-reportable breach, it has to be submitted annually to the National Privacy Commission. The issuances of the security clearance, having a privacy notice will help your organization a lot in terms of the, I don't know kung alam na ng mga audience natin, yung tinatawag na privacy sweep ng National Privacy Commission. Wherein the National Privacy Commission conducts privacy sweep to check all publicly available information in compliance with the Data Privacy Act, which includes a very good privacy notice which could be seen in this pandemic times. Bibisitahin lang yung website natin, and the privacy sweep can happen by checking your privacy notice. And also checking of the presence or the absence of the data sharing agreement and subcontracting agreement. Okay. Now, since this is a kwentong cybersecurity, hindi naman magiging focus, but I would like to emphasize the best practices in terms of security measures. Now, under the law, we have the security measures in terms of organizational, physical, and technical. That is embedded under IRR sections 26, 27, and 28. Now, when we say technical, for all the cybersecurity professionals here, for the encryption, acceptable by the National Privacy Commission under NPC Advisory 16-01 is the encryption standard of AES 256. For the passwords, we know how to create a password. Sometimes it's no longer a password, it's a passphrase. Okay, sharing of data, system testing and maintenance, the use of firewalls, antivirus, spam filters, and also for the backups. Okay, excuse me. And also for the access control, who decides permission and privileges to know, and remote access, how delivered securely. And in this pandemic times, meron tayong tinatawag na bring your own device. Minsan, we do not allow personal equipment or gadgets of our employees. In that case, what we will do, we issue it and install all the security measures to protect the personal data. Then for the organizational physical measures, securing of the office storage, actually it's not an issue much today in these days of pandemic kasi nasa bahay naman tayo. But kung bumalik sa dati, maybe you could take a look at how to secure the premises using CCTV cameras, yung lock CCTV room, server room, ID badges, supervised visitors and contractors. And for the remote working, you secure both hard copies and devices when in transit. Now, ito yung mga common mistakes ng mga cybersecurity professionals natin. Usually, ang protected lang yung personal data, encrypted, AES 256, but only during at rest. Hindi nila alam that the requirement of the law, even in transit, during in transit, this personal information must be protected. Pinapadala mo pa ng via email, dapat encrypted na siya. Okay? Including the lockable pedestals and Kensington locks. And for the securing of disposal, ito probably others might not know this, that yung traditional nating shredder is not acceptable under the NPC standards. We should use the cross-cut shredder. Yung pag napunit siya, yung na-shred na yung data, masyado na siyang pinong-pino. That is the standard for the shredder. Okay? And last few slides, organizational security measures. Policy procedures and guidance embedded also under the 32-point compliance checklist. All the policies dapat nandiyan, how to do this, how to do that, para yung mga frontliners natin hindi na lagi nagtatanong. It should be easily communicated to eliminate ambiguities, readily accessible and understood. For your human resource people, the heads, there should be an explicit roles and responsibilities in their job description. Pagpasok pa lang ng empleyado, dapat may NDAs na, meron na mga confidentiality clauses. That's para lahat ng personal information is protected throughout the stay of the new employees, including the existing employees. Okay? Now, for the procurement, these are mostly function of the legal division or the council or the lawyers, Check all the contracts, outsource services like the IT and the software, due diligence. If you have third parties, auditing and monitoring of their premises. Kasi ngayon pandemic, miski yung mga call center companies, yung mga agents nila nasa bahay nag-work. Parang hindi ko ma-imagine the protection or how unprotected this personal information are. Okay? Now, to end this, I would like to share the top 5 key areas in terms of the Data Privacy Act. Always obtain the client consent, exercise the rights of the data subject, The breach management should be there. Profiling is okay, but not for targeted marketing without consent of the data subject, and compliance with the 5 pillars. And every time that I speak, whether it's a 10-minute talk, one whole week talk, I always promote the culture of privacy, because compliance with the Data Privacy Act is not a one-shot initiative. It is a discipline and culture that must be embedded on a continuous basis within the organization. And we should always promote and build the culture of privacy, how to do this, follow the 7 steps, and including the 5 pillars of compliance. Okay? That's all, Mr. Chair. That's all for my, I don't know kung 10 minutes siya or 15 minutes presentation. Thank you very much. Medyo mabilis, ano?
Doc, grabe. I have to agree sa comment, very comprehensive. I was
Hindi ko nababasa yung comment.
nasa Facebook na mga comment. But grabe ang inabot ng 30 minutes. 30 minutes lang, pero ang sobrang wide yung understanding.
Sorry about the 30 minutes. Thank you.
Actually, meron tayong mga questions, but bago natin yan, magpahinga muna tayo dahil mabigat yung ating lecture kanina, at meron tayong babatiin muna natin yung ating mga kakwentuhan, no? So magandang hapon ulit sa inyo. At Friday na naman, lalo na kay Miss Lorraine Cruz and Joy Paghubasan. And of course, Mr. Rolando Vasquez. Good afternoon. At saka mayroon tayong mga viewers from Baguio. Meron din nakita ko si Agustin Matib. I think Major or Lieutenant Colonel na ito siya. Nasa PMA ito, may question din siya. May question din siya. But again, we are joined by our board of PIX Pro, VP Alexis, VP Mia, and VP Sheila. So wala pa yung isang snappy din natin na board, si Mr. Oka Bisaya, and our National President, and busy yata. So umpisahan natin yung question na Doc Rolly. This is coming from Engineer Ray Ramos from Romblon State University. Kumusta kayo dyan sa Romblon pala, no? Ingat kayo dyan. So how we could protect those data of students and faculty/staff in an online learning system? And what precautionary measures to ensure that the personal data are protected? Thanks. And again, from Engineer Ray Ramos, Romblon State University.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Ray Ramos. Actually, kakagaling ko nga lang kanina, di ba sabi sa introduction, I came from Mimaropa, Mindoro, Marinduque, Romblon, Palawan, Mimaropa. So, balik na naman tayo kay Romblon State University. So, how could we protect those data of students and faculty staff in online learning? Actually, the National Privacy Commission has released its guidelines, for all students and faculty members protecting their personal information online. Number 1, if you're using online platform, whether Zoom or any kind of online platform, minsan kasi di ba pagka yung background natin, if we will not use virtual background, minsan nakikita yung diploma, nakikita yung address, nakikita yung mga personal details at the background, nakikita kung sino yung mga pamilya mo. So one way is yun na nga, the use of virtual background, very simple but very effective, and hindi naman pine-prevent ng National Privacy Commission yung online na nakikita ganyan, kasi there are times we need to really check kung talaga ba yung estudyante ang uma-attend o yung magulang ang uma-attend, So from time to time, it's very good to see the students facing the teacher during online. What precautionary measures? Yun na nga, protecting the yung what do you call this, yung virtual background. Now, kung yung mga anak ninyo ay mga toddlers, mga elementary students, please do not allow them to use the online platform in their respective bedrooms, kasi di mo alam kung sino yung kausap nila . So dapat every time that your children, I'm referring to the children, probably kasama na rin yung ibang college students, that whenever they're into online platform, dapat laging within your reach yung ginagawa nila, no? Pwedeng sa sala, pwedeng sa dining area, but do not allow them to use the online platform in their respective bedrooms kasi we don't know exactly kung sino yung kausap nila, kung ano yung pakikipag-usap nila, and they might be disclosing a lot of personal data. Yun.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Doc. We have our next question. VP Sheila, nasa iyo yata.
Nasa chat group, sir. Okay, hold on.
Nasa
So,
chat box.
question from Stephen Jansen de la Peña Balo. May I ask po if those money lending companies who send text messages to the money lender's contacts stating the amount of cash borrowed by the individual, does it violate the Data Privacy Act? From Stephen de la Peña Balo, sir.
Okay, the answer here is yes, no? So I think 2 weeks ago or a week ago, the National Privacy Commission has requested the closure or the taking down from Google Apps all these mobile lending apps or OLA, online lending applications that violates the Data Privacy Act. So the answer is definitely yes.
Okay, thank you. And our next question, VP Alexis, I think it's your in your chat box.
Sa FB ba to, Mr. Chair? Sorry
Zoom, sa Zoom.
Sa Zoom. Okay, wait.
Zoom chat box.
Zoom chat box. Okay, so another question, Doc. So from direct question from Patrick Sulit, no? Ano raw yung what's the difference between data processing agreement versus data sharing agreement versus data outsourcing agreement? So tatlo yung pinapa-compare niya sa atin, Doc.
Okay. Yung sa batas natin, we're not only talking about 2 agreements, the data sharing agreements and outsourcing agreement. Whatever agreement that concerns data privacy agreement, ang tawag dyan ay data processing agreement. But in the legal context of all of these agreements, it doesn't matter kung ano yung pangalan. Ang importante yung laman ng agreement. Okay, just to answer the difference between data sharing agreement and outsourcing agreement, data sharing agreement is the transfer of sharing of personal information between 2 personal information controllers. So ibig sabihin, you have equal rights to the data. Ang tawag nga doon ay joint controllership. But if you are talking about outsourcing agreement, the PIC outsource its function to a third party, which is a PIP. So data outsourcing agreement or outsourcing agreement refers to the sharing or transferring of personal information between PIC and PIP. So data sharing agreement, PIC to PIC. Outsourcing agreement, PIC to PIP. Ito yung difference no?
Thank you, Doc. Well explained. Patrick, yun yung sagot ni Doc. Hopefully, na-answer namin.
Si Patrick, suki natin yan. Kasi Mr. Luzuriaga, nandyan alas Pix Pro lagi yan. Pag Friday 5 p.m., alas Pix Pro na. Mamaya, Alax Pix Pro. VP Mia, I think you have the next question.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So, Doc, there's another question from Patrick Sulit. His question is, what is the general acceptable technical and organizational security measure?
Actually, na-present ko na siya kanina for the technical, for the IT part, cybersecurity, AES 256, for the encryption, multi-factor authentication. If you are outsourcing the storage of their personal information, you check the ISO standards. Kung 27,018 or 27,002, yun yung mga technical. And pagdating naman sa organizational security measures, yung appointment of a DPO, kung kailangan ba ng compliance officer for privacy, all the policies and procedures are in place. So things like that, no? So nandun yung sa presentation ko, yung acceptable and best practices when it comes to the security measures.
Right. And Doc, just a follow-up question on that, because I remember few years back when we started implementing the DPA, ang natatandaan ko nga, there were several extensions made, 'di ba? Parang March of that year and then extended to April. Doc, ngayon, kasi before, parang sinasabi nila is for as long as you're doing something, at that time for as long as you are doing something, then it's okay. Pero now ba, is it still the same or dapat you have to comply na kasi it's been a while?
Okay. Actually, pag tinatanong ko, kailan ba dapat mag-comply? The answer is always the same. You should have been compliant since yesterday. Kasi yung iba sinasabi kasi, ay 2012 yung batas, tapos 2016 si NPC, dapat 2016 tayo mag-comply. Hindi. Yung reckoning date doon is the 2012. Kung hindi ka pa compliant ngayon under the Data Privacy Act, wala ka pang 5 pillars, wala ka pang DPO, medyo magdasal ka na kasi once na nagkaroon ng privacy sweep si NPC at nakita wala kang data protection officer, definitely parang nasa red flag ka na, no? Ano na kagad yun? Ang tawag ni NPC doon, kasi sa Pilipinas, there are two types of organizations. Yung non-compliant and compliant. Pag compliant, wala tayong problema. Although kung sinabi natin compliant, meron pa tayong tinatawag na operationalized compliance, pero meron naman mga organizations or companies na compliant lang on paper. Pero better na yun sa isa pang type of non-compliant organization, yung matitigas ang ulo na evading compliance. Alam mong ginagawa ng NPC dyan, enforcement kagad siya. And this is part of the deployment ng mga lectures ng National Privacy Commission also, no? Compliant and non-compliant. So saan tayo? Kung dapat tayo lagi sa compliant. And you mentioned earlier about merong date. I think you were referring to the registration of the data processing system. I think that will be effective on March 2022 per FB page of the National Privacy Commission, that the registration for the data processing system will be up by March 2022. Hopefully, sana matuloy po yun.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another question from, hindi ko sigurado kung Major or Lieutenant Colonel na si Agustin Matib. Sir, anong penalty sa mga tigas-ulo na gov agencies na di nagko-comply sa 5 pillars of DPA?
I don't know, pasensya na hindi na ako taga-NPC, pero ang treatment na NPC kahit gobyerno ka, kahit sa private organization ka, pareho din naman. If you're not complying, lalo na kung malalaman na wala ka pang data protection officer. The good thing about this is recently the DILG has released its order that all LGUs should comply with the minimum of standard of appointing a data protection officer. Alam niyo ba, ito yung contrary to what others believe, no? Yung mga government agencies, marami din naman nagko-comply sa data privacy under the 5 pillars. Pero marami ring hindi nagko-comply, no? Tingnan na lang natin kung ano yung gagawin ng NPC in terms of non-compliant government agencies, no? Marami nagko-comply, no?
Okay. Last question from Mr. Joe Maliwat from Los Baños. No? On the technical security of NPC, is there any overlapping of regulations between data security and cybersecurity?
Okay, data security sa NPC kasi explicitly that is embedded under NPC's Advisory 16-01, Security of the Personal Information. When it comes to cybersecurity, I think they have a different mandate. I don't think that there is an overlapping function or regulations between the two, but more importantly, the National Privacy Commission is primarily focused on the personal data. Of course, nag-intersect naman yan. Cybersecurity, information security, data security, personal data. But yun na nga, ang laging sinasabi ni NPC, even when I was still there at the National Privacy Commission, basta ang NPC is the regulatory body when it comes to personal information. Whether that is information security or non-information security, kahit mga physical data that is covered by the National Privacy Commission.
All right. Oh, may humabol na isa pang question. In terms of network monitoring in an organization network, the login banner containing UAP. What is UAP? User access something? Is this sufficient in satisfying user consent?
Okay,
Although,
medyo incomplete yung question, no? Kasi in terms of network monitoring in an organization network, the login banner containing, I don't know kung UAP's user access policy, is it sufficient in satisfying users' consent? If I will get it right, yung context ng kanyang question, satisfying users' consent, if it is within the policy of the company that the user will be user's personal information is embedded, no, doon sa network, I don't think there will be a problem in terms of accessing the user's information. Kasi there are two types of information. Meron tayong personal information, meron tayong company information. Halimbawa, if you are using your company's laptop or any equipment for that matter, hindi mo po pwedeng sabihin, tinignan ng boss ko yung aking laptop or ng InfoSec yung aking laptop. It is a violation of the data privacy. No, it's not, because it's a company. It's a company issued device, no? Correct, exactly. So hindi siya sakop ng data privacy. You're using the company's devices and yet you're doing it for personal matters. I think may mga jurisprudence na yung Supreme Court that whenever you use the for personal use yung mga company issued equipment, laptops, cell phones, no, all the personal information there is sanctioned, no, by the company policy. Yeah.
okay, ito, kaibigan natin, si Mr. Raj Muleta, former NPC din, no? So, hi Doc Rolly, what can you suggest for young professional students to jump onto the privacy profession?
Hi Raj, say hi to your boss. Actually, dati nalilito ako. Raj, sino ba boss mo? Si Kiko ba o si Mel? Si Atty. Kiko ba o si Mel? Si Mel pala. Okay. You're all both good, no? Yung si Mel and Atty. Kiko. To jump into privacy profession, actually, ang the best way, number one, is to attend trainings and certifications on data privacy, whether local or international. Sa Pilipinas kasi, it is a fast-growing professional career growth, no? Whether you're an IT, whether you're from legal, whether non-IT, yan, attend trainings, no? You attend trainings from a reputable organization, so attend trainings on data privacy. Yun yung the best actually. And most especially after attending training, practice, no, data privacy. Kasi yung skills natin, ang hirap i-practice niyan kung wala tayong practice ng skill set. Yes, nag-training ka for 1 week, nag-training ka for 1 month, but the next question is, what is the practice outside? A lot of data privacy professionals, no, naho-hone lang or napapolish yung kanilang data privacy skills once na after training at nandun sila sa real world, ang dami nilang chine-check na mga privacy impact assessment, checking of data sharing agreements, and all the security measures, doon talaga nagpa-pop up, nagpipick yung career nila in terms of the data privacy profession.
Ako, Doc, I have a question. What does it take to become a DP, not only a DPO, but effective DPO?
Okay, I think to be an effective DPO, no, ito lang, this is my personal observation. After I left NPC, no, marami kasing mga concepts outside that are not aligned with the concepts inside the National Privacy Commission. Okay, now it's a good thing that I have an actual exposure inside NPC, and I'm very thankful with the National Privacy Commission for that opportunity. Kasi paglabas ko minsan, iba yung concept ng mga tao when it comes to PIA, iba yung concept ng tao when it comes to the agreements, no? Pero ngayon, little by little, nagkakaroon na sila, na-harmonize na sila in terms of the knowledge inside NPC and the knowledge outside NPC. What does it take to be an effective data protection officer? Yun, practice lang data privacy in your organization. Parang ganito yan eh. Yung mga nurses, hindi sila magiging magaling na nurse kung wala silang maraming exposure sa mga pasyente. Now, the same thing with the data privacy professionals, data protection officer. If you will not be exposed, baka mamaya sa isang taon, isang beses ka lang magpipiya. Sa isang taon, isang beses ka lang magre-review ng data sharing agreements or isa pa lang procedure or policies na nagagawa mo. No? yung expose yourself to a company wherein lahat ng all facets, no, of the data privacy compliance, yung buong cycle, no, on how to be compliant, may expose ka. There are several companies I've witnessed a lot of data protection officers and data privacy lead, data privacy managers, data privacy professionals, kahit hindi sila DPO, depende sa exposure nila on a certain company and how to be an effective data protection officer. Yun.
That's it. Well said. What about siyempre yung pangkabuhayan, no? Ano ba ang tinitingnan natin is it worth it to join the DPO professionals? How is it when it comes to financials?
Okay. Financial, actually dapat pala ni-require ko ang PixPro na bigyan ako ng mga topics, no? Baka mamaya on the spot ako dito. Okay. Now, personal observation on the salary, it depende, no? Ang nakikita ko lang, the higher the salary offer, no, ng isang company when it comes to data privacy professionals, kahit hindi data privacy o data protection officer, it really depends on how the company sees data. Is it very important? Is it very important? Yes, they offer pretty much high salary, pero may mga kumpanya na talagang ang purpose lang is really to have a data protection officer. Yun, ang baba ng sweldo, no? It really depends on the company. Minsan itang ako 32,000, may mga ganoon, okay? Pero without disclosing any company, no? I think yung alam ko lang na pinakamalaki for a data protection officer na salary ng isang Filipino ay nagre-range from 300 to 500 a month. No? Ano siya, data protection officer siya. Yun yung salary range. Pero sa totoo lang, meron ako nakikita 25,000, 30,000 a month na DPO for a small clinic. So, yun, there's no hard and fast rule when it comes to the salary of a DPO, no? Pero it's a very lucrative profession in terms of the returns, no? Pagdating sa sweldo. Kasi talagang pero nakikita ko, no, there is a progressive trend, no, in terms of the salary. Kasi nung dati wala silang alam sa DPO. Ngayon nakakapagpasweldo na sila ng DPO from 100,000 to 200,000 a month. So ibig sabihin, the industry now sees data as a valuable resource and personal data which not be taken for granted, no, in terms of the data privacy regulation. Kasi I've seen a lot of company grows, no, in terms of data privacy. Dati baliwala yung data privacy, cybersecurity lang sila. Ngayon nakikita nila yung data privacy is something na talagang the organization should really focus on, no? Yun.
Doc, siguro, no, kasi sa atin meron talagang industry and entities that probably if they want to give higher salary based on their capabilities, hindi talaga pwede. Now, what if the idea of outsourced DPO, so that the DPO can take more than one customer. No? I mean 30,000 for a small entity, and then if you can take 10 of it, then you get 300,000 a month with relatively acceptable scope of work, right? How is it sensitive? Is the market sensitive to having a DPO that is really organic?
Okay, first yung mga organization, if they want to hire a DPO who is also a lawyer, so ang ginagawa na lang nila is, this is for the private companies, no? Ang ginagawa nila is they hire this lawyer and allow this lawyer to practice privately. So siya pa rin ng DPO full-time, pero at the same time, he can practice his legal profession in a full-time also basis. So okay yon, that is one. But ang nakikita kong trend, no, ngayon is due to no, due to the technical aspect of complying under the Data Privacy Act, outsourcing from a reputable organization or company on a retainer basis is often the the most cost-effective way of managing this, no? Kasi yung batas natin pwede namang i-outsource ang data privacy compliance. Pero ang ginagamit ng NPC is you can outsource the function but not the responsibility. Ibig sabihin, ang naka-front pa rin si DPO. Yung si consultant, si third party service provider for the compliance should be properly monitored by the DPO kung paano ginagawa. Kasi ang problema ngayon, may mga outsourcing companies for the data privacy compliance na you outsource to me, no, your data privacy compliance after 2 months, after 5 months, after 6 months. Ito na yung papel, ito na yung paper compliant. Without the DPO knowing paano ginawa yon, no? Dapat the process of compliance when you outsource the data privacy compliance, there is a continuous development starting from zero. Paano nag-arrive si consultant or si third-party compliance dito sa mga papers or sa mga compliances na isasubmit mo. Kasi there are I've known of some companies na after a certain period copy-paste, no? Copy-paste yung compliance. Ito na yung compliance, ayan na yan, no? So dapat hindi ganoon. Organizations, once you consulted a firm, no, whether that's an individual or proprietorship firm on data privacy compliance, tingnan niyo yung track record, no, paano yung how the progress of compliance being undertaken on a certain company. Hindi siya yung package deal. Okay, after 6 months, bigay ko na sa yung compliance. Ito yung makapal na folder. Ayan na. Pero even the DPO doesn't know anything about kung ano ba yung pinomply. So, I think that's the essence of complying with the law and at the same time outsourcing it. Pwede namang i-outsource, but yun na nga, the DPO should also check yung compliance every step of the way kung paano niya nag-arrive yun. Kesa yung bibigay sa kanya lump sum yung compliance.
Agree. Hindi pwedeng ipagawa para kang nagpagawa lang ng iyong thesis, no, na
Right.
hindi mo naintindihan. Sheila? Bibi Sheila?
Yes, Doc Rolly, thank you so much for that. May babasahin lang po ako na comment from one of our viewers, no, from Mr. Ray Ramos. So his comment is, I think the Philippine Institute of Cybersecurity Professionals plays an important role to hone the skills of those people who are interested in cybersecurity. And I think for this subject as well, for data privacy as well. So the organization can organize training programs catering to both IT and non-IT professionals. So definitely, sir, that's what this advocacy is all about. So our goal is really to provide superior cybersecurity orientation, awareness, and training to the Filipino community at a very low cost. So as small as 500 pesos per certification course. So thank you, Mr. Ray Ramos, for your comment.
Okay, let's take it's already past 6. Lalagpas na naman tayo nito. But we have one last question coming from the PixPro NCR chapter president, no? Our very own Marlon Umali. And I agree with this question. We need the guidance of Doc Rolly, no? Sabi niya, I noticed some companies nominate a DPO and CISO at the same time, at the same capacity. Your guidance on this setup, Doc Rolly? Is this ideal?
Okay. We've deployed this a lot of time na hindi lang yung CISO, pati yung mga HR, yung registrar ng university, yung dean of students, yung basta yung all key positions in an organizations that process personal information a lot is a conflict of interest, no? Even in the international arena on data privacy, CISO, HR, InfoSec, hindi sila ginagawang data protection officer. Kasi let's say for example, no, I'm not saying no na gagawin ng isang Angel Redoble to, pero let's say for example na yung PLDT and Angel Redoble is the CISO. Huwag na nating i-report yan kasi mapuputukan tayo dito. There might be, no? Yun yung sinasabing conflict of interest. Actually, yung batas natin, dalawa yung sinasabing conflict of interest. Conflict of interest if you are if you are the handler of personal information, yung mga HR, ang daming data niya. Basta maraming data, conflict of interest, pati yung dinadaanan ng data. And this other conflict of interest, if you cannot perform anymore yung function mo as a DPO kasi full-time ka na sa isang function mo. That is also conflict of interest. So, organization should look into these two things, no? Yung conflict of interest, yung data na hawak nung trabaho niya, plus yung conflict of interest when it comes to the load, no? Yung load ng trabaho niya na hindi niya na kayang ma-perform ang kanyang trabaho. Now, if you are the DPO, what will you do? Kung inassign sa'yo to, dual position, designation, what will you do? What you should do is to write a letter to the top management, to the CEO, or to the president. Now, it's really up to them kung approve or disapprove to. What's more important here is that you have written that in black and white, no? In case something happens to the data, at least meron kang something to present to NPC. Nag-send na ako dati sa kanila ng letter na conflict of interest yan, ako pa rin na-point. Of course, wala kang karapatang tumanggi, boss mo yun, no? But ang importante lang is you have properly documented, no, your actions with regards to that conflict of interest. Yun ang importante for the data protection officer.
Well said, Doc Rolly. Kasi meron talagang hindi maiiwasan, no? Tama yun na hindi ka naman makasabi na hindi ko gagawin yan kung binigay sa'yo. Right? But the same thing with cybersecurity. We always also take note yung conflict of interest. Hindi nga po pwede yung ikaw ang requester, ikaw din ang approver. Hindi pwede. So dapat magkaibang proseso. All right, ang dami pa natin but pasensya na sa ating mga kakwentuhan. We are already past 6 o'clock and I think medyo nasulit natin si Doc Rolly as you para kay engineer, no? Kay engineer at saka kay Ray. If you guys need assistance, I think si Doc Rolly is a highly recommended consultant and expert in data privacy. And I think nakita mo naman sa 30 minutes na presentation, ang layo nang inaabot. Ang layo na nang inaabot natin. Na-refresh, pati ako na-refresh yung aking data privacy data privacy information and knowledge. But we are very interested in data privacy because it's our partner. Data privacy and cybersecurity is a match made in cyberspace. Sabi nga nila, di ba?
Ano nga yung Mr. Chair, yung iyong quotation, is my religion, ano yun?
If data privacy is my religion, cybersecurity is my faith.
Okay, galing.
Kailangan magkasama lagi yan, no? Hindi ka mabubuhay sa religion lang. Correct. Kailangan yung religion mo, sasamahan mo ng faith yon. So, and vice versa, right? Hindi ka pwede na one man army. Sa cybersecurity, nagkaroon kami ng guidance nung dumating yung data privacy. Kasi parang kami, cybersecurity, secure namin lahat 'yan. Diba? O whether kung yan, pas sinabi ng organization kailangan secure yan, secure namin 'yan. 'Yun ang gagawin namin para kaming mga special operations ng military. Pag sinabi na cordon na yan without. Pero pagka mayroon ng data privacy, nung nagkaroon ng data privacy, nagkaroon kami ng guidance, no? Kung bakit yung So nagkaroon ng powerful fusion ngayon yung data privacy and cybersecurity. And with that, Dr. Crowley, may we ask for a last words you can provide our audience for their data privacy journey?
Okay, my last words for this usapang kwentuhang cybersecurity, whether you're a company or an individual, we collect personal information, tandaan nyo lang, do not collect and if you cannot protect, no? Even it's via your cell phone, personal gadgets, when you collect personal information, there is a corresponding responsibility once you handle information. And With that, I would also like to thank, of course, kasi nakita ko how the National Privacy Commission grows, no? I think, Mr. Chair, kilala mo din anong nangyari from 2016 up to the present. It's a new commission, it's a new government agency, pero the National Privacy Commission has proven its worth to be a regulatory body when it comes to data privacy. And yun na nga, because of the initiatives of NPC's leadership, it was able to put the Data Privacy Act of the Philippines sa international map on data privacy. Thanks to the leadership of Chairman Liboro, former Deputy Privacy Commissioner Ivy Patdu, actually, ang tawag sa kanya is Doctorny, no? Doctor siya, at the same time attorney, Doctorny siya. Tapos si former Deputy Privacy Commissioner Don D. Mapa, who's my immediate boss during my stay at the National Privacy Commission. And of course, the present leadership nag-escalate din mabuti, tumaas uli at tumaas mabuti yung standard when it comes to the implementation of the law through the two Deputy Privacy Commissioners, John Henry Naga and Deputy Privacy Commissioner Dino Aguirre. And of course, still under the leadership of Comliboro. Thank you very much for that. Okay?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Idol natin yan. Idol natin yan si Comliboro. Yan ang saludo talaga tayo dyan dahil sa nangyayari ngayon na improvement, no? At saka yung aggressiveness towards protecting data privacy. And with that, maraming salamat Doc Rolly. Maraming salamat talaga sa iyong sharing of your very comprehensive knowledge on data privacy. And sa ating mga kakwentuhan, maraming salamat din sa inyo. No, Friday na naman. Huwag na natin patagalin ito para makapag-dinner na kayo. At gaya ng sabi nila, Friday ngayon. So ang kasunod niyan ay Happy Weekend. Happy Weekend. Ang problema, kung nasa cybersecurity ka, happy lang,
walang weekend.
Doc Rolly, maraming salamat,
Thank
Doc.
you, Doc Rolly.
Thank you, Doc Rolly. Very
To our
informative,
viewers.
insightful.
Doc, tatawag ako sa iyo within the next few weeks para sa netizen natin.
Of course. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
Doc, thank you. Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
Okay.
Maraming salamat talaga.
Okay.